Club Random is brought to you by Skechers hand-free slip-ins. I took them right off my feet. Skechers has the greatest invention ever. They're hands-free Skechers slip-ins. Don't spend your life bent over touching your shoes. Yuck. Straining your back. Christ. Just step in and go with Skechers hand-free slip-ins. Remember, there's no T in Skechers. Go to Skechers.com/clubrandom to save 20% off your first pair. Terms and conditions may apply. Get your summer savings and shop premium wireless plans at mintmobile.com/random. That's mintmobile.com/random. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month, 5-gigabyte plan required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
I'm not dropping names. I'm just about what I'm
never
saying.
drop names. De Niro told me that.
Yeah. And the same thing was happening with Kennedy, and I could be wrong. This is something I'm shaky on.
I'm gonna call the flag on this and say you are. Bro, how are you?
Such a pleasure, man.
My pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, dude.
Wow, you hold up well. Look at
You
that.
look at you, something.
Look at that.
Man. I don't know how you did that. I'm like,
Weed.
yeah, well.
Weed. Never got married.
Well, I did that 4 times.
I owe it all to clean liquor.
Ooh, see, now I owe mine to just sheer defiance. They've wanted me to grow old and die so many times.
Who's they?
The whole system. I've been a troublemaker forever. Try not to be. But I disrupt shit.
But that's why we like you. I mean, that's why they like me. You know, and you can't, you know, what's the song? If you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping.
You ain't popping. I watched you.
I mean, that's been my whole month.
Dude, I watched you with a friend of mine with X.
Oh, he was just here.
I know.
Alvin?
Yeah.
I love
he
him.
was just here. He was the hardest person that I've ever had to kill. Out of all the people that I've killed and doing this stuff.
Sure.
The nature of him, he's such a sweet, home-giving kind of person. And then they made me kill him on the show.
Well.
I was just like, I don't want to do that.
You know. So, well, I mean, you're an actor. You got to do what we got to do what the script says.
I know. I'm an emotional whore.
But no, I love him, and you know, I told him, like, when I was fired off of ABC, I was on that show for 9 years.
How do they fire you on a show called Politically Incorrect when you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do?
People have been asking that question for 20 years. There's no good answer. But the great tribute to him was that I needed to go off the air with something 9 years in, and I used his couplet because at the time he had that big record with Eminem, and you know the final line, like ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I might leave in a body bag, but never in cuffs, and that's the way I felt about leaving ABC. And you know, I love all his. You know, it's so funny. My friend said to me, rappers, they're all so tough until you hear their real name.
Yeah, or until you see them at a puffy party.
Oh.
Then they're not tough no more. I'm surprised that the rap game is still alive because the masculinity that the rappers are supposed to portray. Oh, drop it.
I'm not roofing myself. It's a way to have Jing. I drink it. It's a way to have diet soda without any chemicals. RFK recommends it.
What happened to him, man?
Who? Puffy?
RFK.
Oh, RFK.
No, what happened to him? He was so against MMR vaccine, so against it. And then he gets into the office, and I've seen him. I've met him. Did they pull something out on him to make him change his stance, or?
Well, you know, as Mario Cuomo used to say, you run for office in poetry, you govern in prose. You know, once you get in, you know, once you are the sheriff, things were a little different. So now he's in office. First of all, just to get confirmed, he probably had to say a few things that he's not completely on the page with. But, he sat here and we talked for a long time. And he said to me at one point, I said something about anti-vaxxer, and he said, "That's what you think I am?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And that's coming from someone who's been called an anti-vaxxer a lot. And I'm, it's all how you define this. I don't think I'm an anti-vaxxer. I think vaccines are a great tool that we have. I just don't want everyone you come up with. I want to be able to make that decision for myself based on my personal health profile. He is a little more out there, I think, on lots of stuff. I mean, there's lots of stuff where I just can't go with him. But in general, do I think what he is saying as far as environmental toxins, that was the advice I gave him when he sat here, because he had been known as an environmental lawyer his whole life. I said, you got to connect these two things. You're known as a great environmentalist. You're just saying that the pollution is in our bodies from other things. It's not just what's in the air. It could be vaccines, and not every vaccine, but who knows, in combination with all the other things that are in our body, mercury and fungus and x-rays. How many x-rays have you had? And electromagnetic energy, 50,000 chemicals we didn't have 50 years ago. We don't know what all these factors are, but when he says this is probably what's behind most of our health problems, that resonates with me. That's what's different about when I was a kid and the food was just, maybe it wasn't great, Wonder Bread, but most of it was just, it wasn't processed. It was not as polluted as it all is now.
But it has to be polluted now.
What do you mean? Good to see you.
Good to see you, bro.
What do you mean?
Well, because
because the money?
The entire process that they're working on, it's not to build humanity up, I don't see it. It's more so to tear us down. Because think about it.
Again, who are we talking about?
I'm still talking about the government as a whole.
Either Democrat or Republican?
Either Democrat or Republican. Because if you go back to, like for me, when the vaccines first was coming out, and I was talking about not the COVID vaccine, just me dealing with my children about, am I going to the vaccines to give them in school? And I was like, no, I don't want to give them the MMR and all of that, because when
they don't need it.
No, and when we were kids, back in 1969, when I was born, and they gave me the shot, it was delivered with duck embryo DNA. Then in 1970, when they got the abortion clinics, they started using human DNA. Now, the duck embryo DNA would not bond. It would deliver the vaccine. It would deliver the little protein that was necessary, but it didn't have any match to your DNA, so it would be taken out of the body. But because they're using human DNA cells from the abortion clinics, those now bond into our cells and try to bond with it. That's why we have all the psoriasis now. Did you see that much psoriasis back in the 80s? Back when you were a child, when I was a child, I didn't see it.
Well, I mean, look, I cannot endorse or refute what you just said, because I don't know anything about that. I do know the course when they make a vaccine, they do have to put something that will be the delivery system. It used to be, for sure, poisonous mercury, thimerosal.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we know that the delivery system can be suspect. I never heard this. I know they grow usually in eggs, right? So the fact that you're saying ducks.
They used to grow it in duck embryo, but now once they started getting all of the fetuses from the abortion clinics, they started using the DNA from them as a delivery system, and that's, our bodies don't like having some foreign thing inside.
Well, look, again, I can only speak on this. You seem to have read more in depth.
I had the kids.
Right, than I have. I just speak in general terms, and in general terms, I agree with that. I feel like we are just marching toward this place where we accept more and more of this kind of environmental pollution. Even indoor pollution is a thing. People die of indoor pollution. It can be the formaldehyde in the fucking sofa.
Yeah. Oh
You know,
well, the plastic. Everything is made
everything
from the
it's so much plastic in our.
refined oil. That's what did it.
Yes. Um,
They've been trying to figure out, okay, we have all this waste from the from the refineries. What do we do with it? Well, in the early 1910s, 1920s, they called all of the chemists together and was like, hey, how can we use this? And they end up making all of these things, and they turned a lot of our pills and medicine into carbon or methylene based or oil based from all the refineries.
yeah,
It's
and
everything.
it's also a known fact that when they come up with a drug and it doesn't work on one thing, or sometimes because it's like it works too well, in other words, it kills you, they don't throw it away exactly because that's bad money after good. Okay, what they do is they repurpose it.
Retroactive.
They do that many times. It didn't work on cancer, but we got a whole stockroom of it. No, I'm sure it's not
Yeah.
quite like that, but it is suspicious to me.
Well, what made the cancer go away was the ivermectin, the antiparasitics, all of those things that they were saying, oh, that you give to dogs, things of that nature, because cancer, I don't believe, and from looking at it, cancer isn't just some deformity that happens to a given cell.
Correct.
Cells have a fight against it, because what's
Right.
funny, what I've noticed with the cancer cells, when my mother first died from colon cancer, and we started working with the cancer, the stand up to cancer, and I went to a lot of the labs, and I was talking with him, and one of the things that I saw with the cancer cells, it behaves exactly like an embryo. It wraps itself in dopamine, and therefore dopamine is the fuel of the body, the gold of the body. So the body starts sending blood vessels to get to this dopamine. That's the same thing that an embryo does. It wraps itself in dopamine. And so the mother's body sends all these blood vessels to feed it. And then it starts controlling the rest. And it keeps telling all the other, at the end of every chromosome, there's these telomeres.
Telomeres.
Yes.
Yes, I take something to repair them.
Nitric
I
oxide
don't know.
or
They've got
C15.
some. It could be nothing. I could be just wasting my time. But
It's working. Look at you.
well, maybe that's what it is, the telomeres. But the telomeres, right? I mean, as I understand it, as a silly layman, is just yes, the sort of like the frayed end of the cell, and of course, we keep replicating our cells. So if you could repair that end, the next time it replicated itself, it wouldn't come out like worse, because that's what aging is. We are all slightly worse. But we should add, before we go on, I guess how to say, ivermectin does not cure cancer.
No.
Okay.
But it has, but the A for ivermectin, when it was first started with the A, that A meant anti, and then and mectin was worms. It kills
Yeah, I
worms,
mean,
and so the parasites associated with it, it's a retroactive drug that's being used for a
the
lot of
fact
stuff.
that it was demonized by the left is one of the things that I would say I could come up with a larger list of things that, when people are like, oh, why aren't you just all on our team? It's like, because your team does some shitty stuff too. Not nearly as much as the right, but you do some shitty stuff too. And pretending that ivermectin was somehow evil. It wasn't evil. It won the Nobel Prize in 2015. They say it's cured probably more people, except penicillin. Okay, like, was it crazy to think it could work on COVID? And look, the truth is probably in the middle somewhere, which is that for some people, yes, it probably has properties that mix, because again, we're all individuals. This one size fits all medical treatment bugs me. So, like, could it work for? Yeah, I've certainly heard from people anecdotally who.
They call it in Africa, they call it Sunday morning medicine, because everybody on Sunday
Yeah,
would pop it again. But it has such a
why?
terrible effect on the liver. It still tears down the liver.
Most medicines do.
So,
So does aspirin.
oil of oregano. What do you do when you get a cold?
Boy, does that hurt your liver?
No,
No, right.
oil of
Yeah,
oregano is
right.
anti-candid,
I know.
anti
Yeah.
it's
No, when I'm feeling a cold, now this is not how I was when I was young and didn't know, but at a certain point, I got hip to some of the more natural cures, and Yeah, when I start to get a cold, I don't take Tamiflu and that pharmaceutical shit. Oil of oregano,
Neil's Med, do you put it in the Neil's Med? That the thing that,
chlorophyll,
oh, you do that.
raw garlic.
Raw garlic, I'm
You
there.
know, like I'm not talking about a garlic pill. I'm talking about you take the garlic.
And chew it.
Well, I can't do that, but I can like ground it up and throw it down my throat like
Put
a
some
pill.
cranberry juice right next to it. No, I'm telling you, the garlic that's burning, the bitterness of that cranberry cuts it right away, and you'll still feel bitter.
We'll be back with Cooking with Terrence and
No.
Bill.
I'm just trying to say, I want to be like you.
I want to be on a cooking show with you.
No, I'm about, my wife does all the cooking. I don't cook no more. I used to cook.
Really?
But it's like when Jimi Hendrix, when Eric Clapton supposedly saw Jimi Hendrix playing, and he took his guitar and he put it on the stage
I'm
and
sure
left
he
it
did,
there.
yeah.
When I saw my wife cook, I stopped cooking, and I haven't
Really?
cooked in 12 years because, I
Wow.
mean, you'll meet her. She's perfect. She's not my wife, my ex-wife, but she's my one. We got divorced 2 years into the marriage.
Wait.
Because they were coming after her money.
Oh, I see.
Because
But you're together, but not formally married.
Yeah, we're soul connected.
Really?
Yeah.
And you were married.
We were married, and so
But then you had such a bad fight, it wound up in a divorce.
No,
Oh, no, that was just for money.
It was money.
Right.
My ex-wives were coming after her,
Right.
IRS did a 6-year investigation on me for no reason, I thought. But it was right after I started filing the patents. And then after doing the 6-year thorough investigation, making sure that I was kicked out of all the banking, all of the huge banks all sent me back my money. And I was like, what is this about? And at the end of 6 years, you know what they said? There's like, well, we haven't got everything we want, but we could continue this, or we could, if you plead guilty to a fraud misdemeanor, we'll let everything go. I was like, no, let's take this to court. Let's put this in front of a jury of my peers, and let's see how you behave with me. Then they walked away, and then they brought something back later. But it was all because of challenging this status quo in the way that I have. I mean, I'm going to show you something.
But it feels good, doesn't it?
Feels freaking great. I got suspended 15 times every year. 15 times a year, all through elementary, got expelled 4 times, always for insubordination. Always for insubordination, because I would ask the question, why? Why? Why is this? What? And they would sit up and say, because. And it's like, no, don't.
But you can't have both things because you kind of are both things. Like you can't have an easy life if you also are special. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you're a very charismatic guy. You got tons of talent. I mean, you look great. I mean, like your whole life. It's hard for you to stay out of trouble because you're the kind of guy, I mean, chicks must be on you like ants to a melting Hershey bar. I mean, seriously.
They used to, but the funny thing, I
They used
never
to.
slept with any of the girls in Hollywood.
Oh, come on.
I swear. I dated Naomi. I've dated a ton of people, and they were all sit up, Marvin Gaye's daughter, they were all sit up and say, because I was Jehovah's Witness at the time. So I would go out with them, but I didn't want, I would lay down with them. But
that is, I mean,
and that's
again,
30 years into the business, because my grandmother, Minnie Gentry, told me you don't shit where you eat.
Look, I have so much to say about that, but I can't bury the lead. I can't bury the lead. Religion is stupid and makes people do stupid things. That's the lead story for that one. Because
I passed up on a lot of stuff.
Give up great pussy because, I don't know, Jehovah's watching is just, I can't go there with you.
It was his angels watching. But
you're over that?
No, and I had a particular taste. I mean, I'm over the religion stuff.
Yeah,
but there was something particular I was looking for in the spirit of a woman. I didn't care. The beauty was great.
Okay.
But it's like, I'm not just trying to.
Well, that's profound and that's deep. But if it's because of God, I can't quite respect that. But if it's because you really don't want to have sex until you feel something, that I respect a lot.
No, and it was not feeling love. It's not feeling love.
No, but something, look.
It's got to be a cosmic connection. There's got to be something bigger that's like, this has to happen, because there's so much trouble that you get in from it.
Club Random is brought to you by Skechers hand-free slip-ins. I took them right off my feet. Skechers has the greatest invention ever. They're hands-free Skechers slip-ins. Skechers hands-free slip-ins revolutionize how you put on and take off your shoes. You can put your shoes on without bending over or struggling, and you never have to tie your shoes again. How did we get along with this civilization? Jesus. How do Skechers slip-ins work? It's like they have an invisible built-in shoehorn, so your foot slides right in. Then their exclusive heel pillow technology keeps your foot comfy and secure. I love my Skechers slip-ins. They're especially convenient when my hands are full and I'm mixing a cocktail here at Club Random and something comes up. I can just slip my feet in or slip them off. Sometimes I do it just for fun. Find them in shoe stores everywhere you are, or go to Skechers.com/clubrandom or use code RANDOM for 20% off your first pair of Skechers hands-free slip-ins. Go to Skechers.com/clubrandom or use code RANDOM. Remember, there's no T in Skechers. Go to Skechers.com/clubrandom to save 20% off your first pair. Terms and conditions may apply. Summer's just around the corner, and the folks at Mint Mobile have a hot take. Getting a summer bod is out, and getting your savings bod is in. This spring and summer, we want skimpy wireless bills and fat wallets. And with premium wireless plans for just $15 a month, you can have both without breaking a sweat or the bank. All plans come with high-speed data included and are delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Also, when I'm talking to a friend before bed and neither of us want to hang up, we can nod off mid-sentence and wake up 8 hours later still connected, because the plans have unlimited talk and text. No unexpected overages and just $15 a month for the first 3 months. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get your summer savings and shop premium wireless plans at mintmobile.com/random. That's mintmobile.com/random. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month, 5-gigabyte plan required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. The biggest change, I would say, in my life, decade to decade, is that in the earlier decades of adulthood, I gave no consideration to basically what a very good-looking woman was like. I mean, I could steel myself to whatever she was if she was very good-looking and I wanted to have sexual intercourse with her. At a certain point, that goes away, and they at least have to be someone who you also would want to have lunch with or, can talk to before the sex happens, this kind of thing. That's not quite spiritual, but to me it was progress. Now, maybe someday I'll have to be like, well, she's got to be on the same page with God as me.
It's not. There was always some silent conversation, like my wife, Mira, my one. I met her on October 3rd, 2013. We got married October 26th, 2013. Because when she came in, 3 weeks later, this is the one that I've been with for 12 years. When she came in, I literally, that whole thunderstruck that you talk about, we were having a conversation eye to eye without speaking. And she was sitting with another gentleman at a table having lunch. And she made it clear without saying a word to me that I knew eternity. I knew I'd been around for thousands of lifetimes, because when I saw her, the moment I saw her, everything, I realized I'd been looking for her for 1,000 lifetimes and didn't even know. And that's the connection, that it wasn't best sex in the world. It was everything that I could imagine. And at the time, I had just been accused of domestic violence from my wife, Michelle. I was done with everything. I mean, I was kicked out of Hollywood for the most part. I was canceled.
Right.
I owed $500,000 for my patent attorney, $400,000 to my divorce attorney. she went and covered everything. But it was that connection that we had.
She I fucked you, then had money.
Yes.
I see what you're saying.
And she cooks like crazy. And
a cook. Oh,
and
Jesus
stood
Christ.
next to me. This beautiful woman stood next to me when everybody was calling me a wife beater, and made it possible for me to do the job on Empire.
Has she got a sister?
Yes, she does.
Well, I'm so happy that you're happy. I mean, that's great that you found the one. I mean, that's what everybody's looking for in the big Easter egg hunt of life, to find that egg in the grass, just the right one. So,
And she didn't look at me crazy when I first started talking about 1 times 1 equal 2. And I wasn't talking about 1 times 1 doesn't equal 1.
I read about that.
In linear math, you still can use the 1 times 1 equaling 1 for things laid out. But if you're trying to measure this room or measure some space, but if you're talking about fluid flow, gas flow, water flow, all of that has to be measured through volumetrically. So that's where the 1 times 1 equal 2 comes in.
I've read your shit on this. And then I know Neil deGrasse Tyson
tried to shit on this.
Well, he sure did.
Yeah, but now what does he say?
I don't know. I don't even know the particulars that much. I just know there was a feud a little bit.
I gave him my stuff.
But all I have to say is, I don't know the specifics. I know what you're saying is either way smarter than I am or way dumber.
No.
I don't know which one it is.
You never looked at it like an action times an action not having a reaction. For 1 times 1 to equal 1. And that's what I asked Eric Weinstein on the show. I was like, show me one place in natural phenomenon where an action times an action doesn't have a reaction. And I will say 1 times 1 equals 1.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, but 1 plus 1 equals 2.
Mm-hmm. And what is it? What is multiplication but exaggerated addition?
Does this have anything to do with October 3rd?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
You know
no,
what?
you know what I'm saying.
No, but like people think numbers. I used to think that. I got to admit, there was 20 years of my younger life when I was like I paid a lot of attention to like numbers, like dates, and like saw some like meaning in that. I'm not
still do.
Maybe I got off the train too early.
No, you didn't get off the train because you're still drawn to it. You still see 11:11 on the clock, and you stop for a moment. You still see 12:34, and you're like, hey, it something about it grabs you. Even when I see 9, anytime I see 9.
Yeah, you know what? I once had a cut on my head, and they shaved it, and there was a 666. Is that significant?
Yeah, because it's not the devil's number.
Oh, what is it?
What
is
they
it
were trying to do? No, they were chasing.
It's a 310. I hope.
No, they were chasing you from the truth, because 666. 6 times 6 times 6 ends up being 206, 216. 216 is the key of C, or key of A. 432, you double that.
Wait. 216 is the what?
666. If you do 6 times 6.
I got that part.
6 times 6 is 36.
I get it. 216.
216.
Is the what?
Is the key of A.
What does that mean, the key of A?
The key of A, the tone of A.
What is
the tone of A?
Tones have number?
Yes, the frequency of it, 432. It's
I see.
432 hertz. Instead of them doing 440.
Yeah, I've seen that 432 hertz.
430. Once the Beatles.
433 kills you.
Well, the Beatles went to. Jimi Hendrix used to spend hours trying to tune his guitar at 432. That's why people be so pissed off at him. It's like, just tune the damn thing regular. No, he needed it at 432. When the Beatles went to India, they tuned their instruments when they got back all to 432 and remastered all of their stuff, because 432 is the common factor of the universal tone. That's the sound of our earth. The sun is 864,000 compared to the earth with its 432. The moon is at 216. All of these numbers tie into astronomical things. So they're important.
Okay. So when the Beatles got back from India, they remastered all their records?
They remastered their records.
They personally went into the studio and did that?
If you go to a site, there's a site called 432 Sacred Music of the Spheres on Google. And they'll have a heartbeat there. And it goes through this entire system of what Jimi Hendrix did, why 432 is important, what it means, what did the Beatles do with it, and all the other individuals like Prince turned his stuff to 432.
Do you know the connection the Beatles had with Jimi Hendrix?
No.
Sgt. Pepper, that album, you know it, you love it, you hate it,
I love that album.
Okay, good.
Sgt. Pepper.
Yeah, it's great.
The Walrus.
No, that's not. That's not.
That's not on that. What is that? That's the Yellow Submarine. That was
no, that's Magical Mystery Tour. But listen,
I've been debunked.
Yeah, on the Beatles, yes. So Sgt. Pepper came out, like, I think in June of 1967, and Jimi Hendrix was in London. And the day the album came out, he learned the title song and played it that night with Paul McCartney in the audience at a club he was playing at. It came out that day, and he played it that night. That's a motherfucker, huh?
Well, no, they're running 3 chords, 4 chords shuffle. It's not the hardest thing to do. It's not when you're, but to go and stylize on it.
I wouldn't say all the Beatles songs were just 3-chord shuffles. That's not
No,
true.
but back then, most of their pop stuff that they were jumping out with had that 3-4 chord shuffle, and they'll slightly make a change.
Not the later stuff.
No,
and this is the beginning of their later period.
Oh, you're talking.
So,
I thought you were talking about at the very beginning of their stuff when they're coming out.
They had their early sound, which you're right, was more simple. I have way less of that, like in my iPod, because, some of it is just, first of all, the lyrics are for 12-year-olds in 1966. This is not interesting stuff to me. But the songs have great energy, and some of them are just timeless and they're awesome. But they really started to grow when they got off the road. Revolver is 1966. That's like Eleanor Rigby. Yeah. Sgt. Pepper is the next year. Then comes the Magical Mystery Tour with your Walrus song. Then the White Album. Then Abbey Road. Then Let It Be, or actually Let It Be, then Abbey Road. So like that whole second half of their career, it was way beyond 3-chord shuffles. That's why they were so great in that era.
Well, one of the things that the Beatles did in their change, like my favorite song from them when I was a child, the first time I knew the Beatles was that song "Help."
Yeah,
I need somebody. I was 8 years old, living on Kingsley Boulevard between Sunset and Hollywood. Had no money.
You were where?
Kingsley Boulevard.
No, I got it. That's where you
about
lived?
to have a shop? Yeah, on Kingsley. I used to live there. Had no money, Mother was doing everything she could. And then half the time, I would spend the summers and the holidays in New York at Manhattan Plaza.
With who?
My grandmother.
Your grandmother.
Minnie Gentry lived in Manhattan Plaza. And that's where Giancarlo Esposito, he was my coach. He was the first person.
Manhattan Plaza, where all like the actors lived, right? Yeah,
yes.
It was like rent subsidized for artists.
Artists. Because remember, they had half these artists would be on Broadway, but they couldn't get down there. No. So there was those couple
I know a
blocks.
comic who lived in that building because he got that dispensation. Yeah, it was
he still has it? Does he still have the
No, he's very rich now. No, he doesn't need it now. But
David,
but that's
Larry David.
That's it.
Larry David, because he was.
Yeah, you're right.
I used to hang out. I used to run into his apartment and hang out with him, and then I hadn't seen him for like 30 years. Yes,
Holy
and then he saw me because then the guy Kenny Kramer, the real Kenny Kramer.
Yeah.
I used to date his daughter Melanie.
Oh, see, I'm telling you, when you look like you, Terrence, you're just gonna attract.
We were 16.
I know, but it's just an ongoing thing that's gonna happen. Club Random is brought to you by the Freedom from Religion Foundation. You ever been on a road trip where one person insists on controlling the music? You're just trying to enjoy the ride, but now you're stuck listening to nothing but their favorite band. No discussion, no compromises, just their way or the highway. Well, that's kind of what's happening with Christian nationalism. Some folks want to take over the wheel and force everyone to follow their beliefs, shoving religion into our laws, our schools, and even our personal choices. But hey, this country was built for everyone, not just for one group. That's where the Freedom from Religion Foundation comes in. Think of them as the GPS keeping church and state in separate lanes, just like the founders actually intended. So whether you've always been secular or left religion behind, if you don't want someone else dictating the trip for you, FFRF has your back. Join us. Go to ffrf.us/freedom or text CLUB to 511-511 and become a member today. Text CLUB to 511-511 or go to ffrf.us/freedom. Because when it comes to freedom, we all deserve to choose our own route. For membership information, text CLUB to 511-511. Text fees may apply. But it's so good that you're in such a happy place because, like, you know, with your woman, because, you know, that is, you know, when you don't have that, you're just always thinking about getting it. I'll just put it that way. And it's a, you know, yeah, it can be a lot when that's what you're always, every time you leave the house.
Yeah, but see, you have the hope right now. You could bump into someone gorgeous that,
yeah.
But then you've got to see, do they want you for your money or do they want you for,
It's so easy. I mean, first of all, that's not even my situation. I'm super happy the way I am.
You don't dream of falling in love?
I am in love.
Oh, okay. You killed it right there.
but like, I just remember younger years. There was not a time when I left the house where it wasn't on my mind. I'm talking about my 20s, you know, maybe the 30s sometimes if I wasn't with somebody. And like, it's just exhausting. Like, I'm going to the mall. Does this belt look good? It's like, oh, yeah, that's going to make a difference between you, like, meeting somebody at the mall and then what, getting laid and living happily ever after. It's all in the belt.
If you have your belt on and you have 6 inches of that belt hanging off of you, everybody's primal. We're still 98.7% simian.
Yeah.
There's only 1.3% differentiation between us and them. And that 1.3% we call human. And we have to abide by that. But 98.7% of us is still trying to be that gorilla ape. That's who we are.
We are.
So how are they locking people up for killing someone that's sleeping with their wife when 98% of them is what you can't do that to the chimpanzees. All males fight over women in every species.
I know, but again, it's going to be harder in your life because married chicks are still going to like look at you and go,
I'm their pass.
Yes, correct. Yes.
And you too. You still get it. So
please. This is not a fair fight. And
no,
because
see they see the genetic coincidence of symmetry.
You know what? I'm happy with my lot in life because if you look like you, it is more trouble too. Like, I don't have a lot of trouble, you know? I'm pretty clean. No marriages, no convictions, never got my toe caught in the trap. It doesn't mean I haven't been happy. Not always, but, you know, it's just, yeah, I mean, it can be a kind of a burden being too popular.
Yeah, my whole goal now is to disappear from that side of it because I kept doing the acting and I kept thinking, one day this is going
Well, you're not stopping, are you?
I got to, dude.
Acting?
I got to.
No, you don't.
I got to.
That's a bad idea.
I've tried to go.
May I just say, as a friend who I don't know you well, but I like you already, I always liked you. You were just that guy, that leading man guy who was like, well, I could never be that, but he's just so cool. I can't be jealous of it. I just was born different. But if I could, I'd be like that. That's the kind of guy if I was going to be that kind of guy. But like, oh, I forgot.
Well, no, because we were talking about whether stopping. I had a conversation.
Oh yeah, but so I just think you should not stop acting. You're good at it. We want to see you. The audience is still there. You still look good, and you're at the prime of like you've acted long enough. Like, who are the best actors in the world? They're always people like in their 50s and 60s. They just act on a whole different level. We're not acting. You know, they finally, like, it becomes just so natural.
You start hiding from the camera.
Don't
instead of chasing the camera.
Yeah, don't deprive us of that
I'm
era.
in the chitlin circuit now. They stuck after I sued Fox.
What does that mean?
The Chipman
Oh, I
Circus.
know what it really is, but what's
Yeah,
it for you?
that's no studio movies, no, no uh, big television stuff. Everything is on the outskirts.
Yeah.
Why? Because you don't fuck with the mouse. I fucked with
Okay.
the mouse. You
I-
don't. I sued the mouse. I sued
oh
Fox.
well,
I
soon.
sued, and I'm
Oh,
suing CAA right now.
oh well,
It's just, but it's about my money.
you're right.
Somebody take $300 million from you. You're like, dude,
Hey, you know what?
you got to go for
I
it.
know, but if you have this reputation as runaround Sue, I mean, it's like
Not at first.
okay,
Not
but
at
like
first.
that, it's one thing to fight with them or name call. Once you start with the suing, they kind of take it personally, and it gets too close to the money, but it's still not insurmountable. What this country loves more than anything else is a redemption story. There has to be every script, whether it's a action movie or a romantic comedy. There has to be, like, it can't just be this. This is boring. You know, the hero rises and then shit happens, and then they break up and like, you lied to me. It's always some contrived thing in the romantic comedies. And then, he chases her back to the airport or whatever. The world doesn't blow up. And, you have to have that. So, yeah, I get where you are, but, it's going to go to the other place because it does. That's the story America loves. And they just like you. When they like you, they find a way to forgive. I mean, Charlie Sheen, I keep want to pick on him, but like this guy has done so much shit that's worse than anybody else, and he's still just
Because he's got a great smile.
and yeah, and
Gregarious.
he's
And
that
he's like,
scamp, Charlie. What?
he's like Cuba Gooding Jr. No matter what Cuba is going through, you'll see him out at a club, smiling, living life. Nothing's bothering him. Nothing's bothering him. He never lets it get to him. And me and him talk all the time because people always confuse him for me and me for him. And so anytime somebody will ask him for an autograph and say, Terrence, can you give me an autograph? He'll call me on the phone and be like, Terrence, this guy wants an autograph. Should I give him one? Should I give him something? So we talk. But
Wow.
I thought with the stuff he went through that he would just go away. And it's like, no. No, he's made of something stronger than that. A piece of coal a diamond is just a piece of coal that did well under pressure. All of them don't do well under pressure.
That's right.
He's done well. You've done well under pressure. They've tried to kick us out.
Oh yes.
I'm not going anywhere, so you kick me out of that side. Well, now let's talk about the science. Let's walk through that for a little bit.
Right.
Let's walk through the math. Let's walk through your geometry. Let's walk through your
So,
fundamentals.
what did Cuba do? I don't remember. I remember he was in trouble. Was it
They
real? Was it
accused him.
real? Was it?
Can be that real because they accused him of fondling or touching someone at a
Oh
bar.
yeah, but I think
At a bar, and then they accused him of touching some dude
it
in
sounded like
Puffy's thing. I'm like,
I
dude,
mean,
that's not Cuba. He wouldn't. I can't imagine
really?
Cuba touching some man. No,
A
I mean,
man.
a man. Yeah.
What is it? What is it with all the man on man action that I'm learning about? I mean, like with the puffy parties, like the last thing I ever thought that went on there was gay stuff. Not that gay stuff
Yeah,
was
I didn't.
wrong; it's wonderful. I just did not think that's what was Puffy was doing.
Yeah, well, I didn't think it either. And even when my assistant said that stuff, I still was like joking it off. And it wasn't until later on that I heard other things from people that worked from him. You remember that back in the times of slavery, they had a thing called breaking the buck, where they would take not to go in a bad place, but this is
Yeah,
how I see
yeah.
what's happening, the parallels with what's happening with correlates what's happening in the business. If they back in the times of slavery, if they had like some 12-year-old slave that was just full of himself and confident and wasn't listening, they would tie him to a log or a barrel, and a bunch of the overseers would rape him to where when he walked around with the slaves now, he didn't have the confidence.
Sure.
His whole he was broken. And it was called breaking the buck.
Wow.
And that's still taking place. And so to hear that people in the industry are still making young rappers who have fought the worst of circumstances, being disenfranchised, being discounted, and then they finally like, I'm gonna put it into the music. I'm gonna do it in the music, and I'm gonna, and get myself together. And they go and see someone, and they tell them, okay, yeah, you can have a deal. Perform fellatio on me, and you get your deal. That was what I heard while I was on Empire about some of the people in the business. And Petey Pablo, you remember Petey
I
Pablo?
know who that is.
Petey Pablo, talented writer, singer. Him and Young Buck wrote a song called Ho Is On. And in that song, back in about 2011 or 29 or something, because he called out all of the homosexuality taking place at those parties and those people, he was kicked out of the music business. No radio station would play his stuff. So you look for Petey Pablo, he's not around anymore. But that song, Ho It's On, they did
No,
not
I
care, and
mean,
they went all in on it.
look, this is a country of snitches and bitches. And when they want to just disappear you, not to get off on a tangent about how Trump is like literally doing that to
I
people
know.
now.
I
But
was all in his corner, and that right there, that hit me. I was like, dude,
oh,
you can't do that to
no, you
somebody's
cannot.
family. You
No,
cannot do that.
no.
Bring them home.
Well,
You
you just can't send American citizens or
out
even
of the country.
right, out of the right to a prison, and not just a prison, a gulag. But what I was going to say is like the the snitches and bitches characterization of this nation in this psychological moment in our life, I think sometimes it seems like that's all it is, that everybody just wants to fight all the time and bitch. They will just find something to bitch about and hate. And if they can take any one or two pieces of information and plausibly put it together in a way that will cancel you, they will do it. They
Well,
don't care about the truth. They care about a scalp on their wall that they can get. Somebody, and it happens from the left and it happens from the right, and they just look for that moment. So, like, I feel like I've been swimming in a sea of sharks for 32 years, is how long I've been on between the two shows. And every day, I feel like I'm swimming among the sharks. And so far, they haven't pulled me down.
I've been nipped a couple times.
But and yours, yes, I have too. But and look, I'm not gonna lie. After the first cancellation, if you went into my office, you were like, "When are you gonna start to decorate it?" And I'm like, I don't decorate my office because I feel like any minute I might have to bug out of it. It could happen overnight, where literally, you know what? Don't worry about getting any shit from my office. I didn't keep anything there. I never thought it was permanent to begin with. That's not a bad attitude to have.
How many times you've been fired in your career?
Well,
All around, whether
not
clubs or whatever.
oh, clubs.
How many times have you been?
Well, in the early days, not just clubs, but berated as to how bad you were as a comedian and how much you made the paying customers leave. I've had that lecture. I did a gig in Cleveland in like 1980. I was too early in the business, like 1 year, to even be doing a headliner gig. It was so terrible. And the next day, and I got that lecture after the show, like you not only are terrible, but you made people leave and probably not like this place in the future. Like, and then the next day I got snowed in for 12 hours. I sat at the airport and I felt like everybody in the airport was looking going, oh, there's that asshole who.
What did you do that night that
Well,
you think did it?
I would do jokes. I mean, first of all, I did not have enough of material, enough of an act to do an hour. And when it didn't go over, I reacted badly. Instead of reacting humbly, I would like lash out at the audience. It was all so emotional. You didn't like my joke. Well, fuck you. I guess it's you. You're bad, not me. And that's what a young 24-year-old comic does to really fuck up a night for everybody.
No, I've been fired at least 8 times off of jobs. And then I look at actors that's never been fired. And I'm like, wow, you've never taken a chance. And you've never stood your ground. They're the first ones to say, oh, I'll do it. I can do it.
The first thing I ever saw you in was Mr. Holland's Anus.
Mr. Holland's Anus? Opus?
Well, I saw the porn version.
No.
Oh, good. I got him to cough laugh.
No, I was thinking
No,
about
I'm kidding.
the
Yeah,
greenery,
Mr.
man.
Holland's
Opus. Yeah, I was so green at that moment. I was
Yeah,
25.
but I saw you. I remember I saw Angelina Jolie the first time in this TV movie about George Wallace, the
Yeah.
Southern racist governor, and his wife. He married Miss Alabama, and then she became the governor
I'm just
when he
eat
was
it.
term limited or something. Um, and Angelina Jolie played that part. And I said, the first time, I mean, I'd never seen her before. And I said, that's going to be a star. And I said the same thing about you and Mr. Holland's Anna.
Yeah, I was so.
But you can just tell somebody just is born.
I wasn't in Mr. Holland's anus, though. I was in Mr. Holland's opus.
Well, that's not what I've heard.
But Richard Dreyfus taught me the best lesson in that thing, and I think it really made my career because we were doing this scene, and we're basically sitting across from each other like this, and I'm having the drumsticks and I'm trying to pound it, and he's supposed to reach over and grab the drums in the middle of it, and so I'm trying to lean over so he don't have to reach, and he said, "Cut, stop! Don't you ever do that shit again." And I was like, "What?" And he said, "Don't you ever let me take a scene from you.
Wow.
I like you, but I will not let you take a frame from me. And don't you let me take a frame from you. You fight for it to the death. Because only one person is going to walk away with this frame. So don't make it easy for me." That's what he was saying. And from that moment onward, every ring I got into, when I go on the floor, I want to decimate the person I'm with, not in the fact of make them look bad,
Right.
but I want them to not need their lines. I want you to be so caught up in what we're doing that you don't even need to say what you have to say.
It's working on me right now.
Want the fucking frame.
You're getting the. I mean, cut, Chris. I don't need a second take on that one. That is riveting shit.
He taught me that on that movie, and it changed the course of my career.
Wow.
Because then
Well,
when
Richard Dreyfus has been here too.
oh my
Not in
God.
that position. He's been here.
Oh yeah, he's gone through it.
Well, no, he just took a Vicodin that day and was like horizontal in the chair. And I mean, a lot of people have Googled it. But I like him so much.
But isn't that what you're supposed to do here?
I think so.
I mean, I'm
think
waiting
so.
for you to pull out the joint. I mean,
I'm
I
sorry.
done smoked up with. I've smoked with.
You know what? I got
with everyone.
I got. You know what? People give me bad information, and people protect people. And you're not the first one here who I was told, like, don't tempt him. And I'm like, you're with me. I'm a tempter. I'm a bad influence. We're at Club Random. This is known to be a place.
This is a man card moment. Like smoking with Snoop. Like I still want to smoke with Willie. I still haven't done that. But
Hurry.
But with Woody Harrelson.
Oh, I can arrange that in 2 seconds.
No, that's my boy.
That's what Exhibit said.
Yeah.
Oh, I will so set that up. He owes me a favor. Oh, like 100. But no, really, I will so set that up. That'll be fun. Okay, so this is homegrown and good and pure.
In that yard? In that huge yard you got out there?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't live here on the farm. I live next door.
I know, but this is really nice.
Oh, I know. I love California. You love California?
I do. You know, molecule for molecule, the THC in marijuana is 10,000 times stronger than alcohol in its ability to produce a mild intoxication.
You are like Cliff Clavin. Cheers. You're like full of information. You remember Cliff?
Sam, give me a beer.
You remember Cliff Clavin?
I know, from Cheers.
But they also say it's like so much stronger than it was back in the day. Stronger.
Yeah, it is.
Don't you think?
Well, because of hydroponics and everything that they're able to do with it.
Well, I just think when money gets involved, they will find a way to manipulate seeds, or, they do it with our food supply is shit because, there used to be like so many different kinds of wheat. But because of, I can't even explain it, but the economics, and it was more economical. Remember, so they
And that's where Monosat came in, and they're just keeping the same.
Monsanto.
Monsanto.
Yes,
Monostat.
because you're stoned now.
No, that's what
why.
it was. I'm thinking of a yeast infection.
What?
Monostat. They use it for a yeast infection. I don't know how I made the connection
How
there,
do you
but I
know
told
that?
you that because when I was about to do a film called Awake with Harvey Weinstein did this for me. Harvey, he did some beautiful shit.
Of course.
I had
as a producer,
my quote was like $60,000 for a movie, and Harvey was like, and I was about to go and negotiate for Iron Man, and Harvey was like, no. He's like, I'm going to offer you a picture for $3.5 million. You're going to decline that offer in writing, and that's going to be your quote for Marvel. And he did that for me.
What? I don't understand.
He
said
he offered me a film.
I understand that part, but the part about declining, because that would raise your quote.
No, he wanted, because he didn't want to have to pay me $3.5 million.
Yeah.
He wanted me to decline it.
Yes.
Once I would turn down the offer, now I've been offered $3.5 million, and I turned that down, so that's now my quote. So we were able to take, my agent was able to take that paper and take it to Marvel and say, this is what his quote
he helped.
is. He helped. He helped for no other reason. No other reason. He was just good people.
Hitler was a vegetarian, like everybody's got something
Everybody's
about them
good for something. Everybody's good for something. So when I see everybody coming after him, when I knew what the business was, like I had the night I was nominated for an Oscar, I was having.
Oh yeah, hustle and flow.
Yep, I was having playing poker.
Wow, that must be a shit in your pants now with the suit and like you gotta. Who did you bring?
I brought my mom.
See, that's a safe choice.
I brought my mom.
Yeah.
I brought
Unless
my
you're
mom.
fucking her. It's a very...
no, this ain't Japanese porn. This ain't Jap porn. But we had my... Damn, that just fucked me up.
I told you You think I'm going to give Terrence Howard bad dope? No.
No, well...
Your mom.
No, but that night I'm at Norby
Walters.
Norby Walters' party, house, playing poker.
Okay.
And Andy
Hoffman.
No, Andy.
He's dead.
Andy, the heavyset one. God.
Andy Rooney.
No, Andy.
Andy.
I sat a little far from each other. Round face, very round.
Andy Richter.
No, I know Andy Richter.
Oh, that was so close.
Andy said, no, you weren't.
I really thought I had it on that one.
Andy.
I really thought I had it on that one.
But we were sitting there playing cards, and I'm being facetious with him. God, now that's why I stopped smoking pot. It makes you forget everything. No, I'm sitting there with
Andy Richter.
Yeah, with Andy. It wasn't Andy Richter. I'm sitting there with Ed. Who's the guy that played Santa Claus in
Ed Asner.
Ed Asner. I'm sitting there with Ed.
I love this game show.
I love good. I'm sitting there playing poker with him.
Ed Asner.
And
Andy to be named later.
And I said to him,
Terrence Howard, Harvey Walters. Yes.
I said to him, I was like, what? They just had a cake for me for getting nominated. That was the night I got nominated.
That's nice.
And I said to Ed, being facetious, I was like, what's the best advice you can give a young actor so that I can be successful in this business? And he said, work on your blowjob, kid.
Who said that?
Ed Asner.
Oh, Ed Asner.
Said, work on your blowjob, kid.
Well, he was joking.
No, I know he was joking.
Right, okay.
I know he was joking.
Okay.
But after...
It's funny.
And I took it like, what that meant to me was this business is about pleasing everyone around you. You have to please everybody else. It's not pleasing yourself. And then you get set up in the position to get pleased. That's how I took it. Do everything you can to take care of everybody else's needs. Make sure the producer, the director, and the writer have all the things that they need. I didn't take it in a sexual way, but then after all of this other stuff came around, I'm looking at it like what he was saying was a lot of people got ahead in the business by giving head in the business.
Well, of course. I mean, that's when, yeah, look, it's way better than it used to be. I mean, it used to be like they didn't even try to hide it.
No,
You know, Marilyn Monroe, who I,
adore.
famously don't think it's very attractive, and I don't want to go into that, but she never did it for me. But I know she was like the biggest boner in the world. But I mean, she was like used, like you cannot believe how they just used people in this stuff without any apology or anybody
Did you
caring.
see that movie they just did with her?
Yes.
And pushed her on the. She
Well,
came in there to read the script. And
yes. And then blowing Kennedy.
yeah,
That
wow.
was a hard scene to
I'm just
watch.
like, dude, this is that.
Right.
All of that added to what Ed Asner said,
No.
what my assistant said about that other situation. I'm just like,
The
dude, is this it?
blowing Kennedy scene was so disturbing because Kennedy was always a hero in my household. Okay.
Me too.
Okay. So, and look, we don't know if it's true. First, it's a movie. Okay, you made that up. You weren't there in the room when Marilyn was blowing him. I'm sure she was blowing him, but the way they presented was he was so unfeeling. He's just lying in bed. And he's on the phone. He never gets
Yes,
off
he's
the
sitting over here
phone.
talking, not
And
even
she
looking
just,
at
the
him.
biggest movie star in the world is blowing him, and he's on the phone.
And it's the CIA or Secret Service is standing right there
Right.
next to him.
It's just so demeaning to her, and it's just hard to watch. And
That's
that's
the
why Bobby
business.
Kennedy is crazy. Okay, no, but we just don't know that it happened that way. That you have such power as a filmmaker, and you are playing with fire because you are presenting images that people cannot forget, and in a part of their mind, think maybe is true. And it is possible that Kennedy was that callous, but they just don't know.
I mean, you look at his father and the
Oh, yeah.
choices that his father made, and the position that
Mhm.
he was always in as the son that wasn't supposed to be there. His older
Right.
brother was supposed to
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
there. The
But
sicknesses, all of that, the medication. What kind of effect did that medication have on him? What kind of painkillers was
well,
this man on, and being pushed
but
into that
I
field?
mean,
And he knew he was going to die.
okay, yeah, well, maybe he was not physically well even without getting shot
No,
in the head. That didn't help.
no. But
But he had a
remember,
bad back before
did you
that.
hear what I heard about what got him killed?
Oh, I think we all know generally what got him killed, but what's your theory?
The night before, he had signed an executive order ordering that the Federal Reserve would no longer be printing the dollars, that the US government will now print the dollars.
The Federal Reserve is the U.S. government.
Federal Reserve is a separate entity.
Of
It's
the
not,
U.S. government. It's
but
still
it's a
part of the U.S.
separate thing.
It has less congressional control, correct, than cabinet positions or any other department. Yes, that's for a good reason. You don't want you don't want to politicize. Funny enough,
But
Trump's doing that now.
no, what I heard, what I've researched and found, it was comparable to what happened to Abraham Lincoln. He wanted to do the same thing, start printing money himself instead of having the Federal Reserve, because this was the problem with the Fed. If the Fed say Congress need $20 billion, the Feds print, okay, they get the order, they print up the $20 billion. They never print up the interest, because there's interest on that $20 billion that they just did. They've never printed up enough money to pay the interest, so they were always going to be in debt. So I heard that Lincoln, and I would love to find it, that Lincoln had ordered that the Federal Reserve wouldn't be printing money or whatever, and he was going to print it himself, and the same thing was happening with Kennedy. And I could be wrong. This is something I'm shaky on.
I'm gonna call the flag on this and say you are, because I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that may be something Lincoln did, but he did other more controversial things.
Yeah, he did. Okay. But I'm saying,
I can't remember the one thing, but there was something he did that was super controversial at the time. Oh yes, freeing the slaves.
Freeing the slaves.
That's what it is. I think that's what got him killed.
But freeing the slaves, freeing the slaves didn't. I don't think that did it. If what I'm saying is true, and somebody can look that up. But if so,
well, money's in a close contest with race, because the thing that really unites, to me, Lincoln and Kennedy, who were killed almost exactly 100 years apart, elected 1860, elected 1960, is that, Kennedy was the person who changed the solid South, used to be called the solid South, meant solid Democrat, to solid Republican. That never happened in American history before. An entire region switched parties. Why? Because until Kennedy, civil rights was not something the Democrats cared about. In fact, they were on the wrong side of it. After Kennedy, they were on the right side of it. That's why he got shot. Same reason why Lincoln got shot.
But do you think the Democrats are really in it from the heart, or is it just so that they can curry the black vote?
Look, when you send troops, federal troops, to guard black people so that they can go to college, go to school.
Kennedy was in it.
That's what got him shot. It's like, how dare you come down to our part of the country where we're still really living in Jim Crow, post-slavery, but not certainly America. And you come in here with the federal troops and your brother, Bobby Kennedy's father, who was like really adamant about this. That changed an entire way the white electorate in those states voted, and they really haven't voted for Democrats since. That's political guts. And that's why he got shot, I think, more than anything. He also wanted to get out of Vietnam, maybe. Lots of stuff that fought the status quo. And also remember the Bay of Pigs?
Yeah.
When he first got into office, he let the CIA have this plan to invade Cuba and take it back, and it didn't go well. And, he then
That's
fired.
what pushed Cuba to going and currying favor with the Russians, because they needed to have some kind of support from them at the end of the day.
Well, they were doing that before.
But no, they really tied the hands.
Well, that's what the Cuban Missile Crisis was about, the fact that Russia was sending missiles to Cuba. So Castro took over in 1959. Russia was like thrilled. We invaded in 61 when Kennedy was just newly in office, and the plan was already in the works. And so he didn't stop it. He didn't want to, he knew that the CIA would revolt. They had this plan in the works. We're going to go invade Cuba. We're going to use Cubans. It's going to be great. And it wasn't. And they blame him for not giving the air cover that would have helped the invasion, but they were not going to overtake Castro. They just weren't. It was a fool's errand. And he then 6 months later fired the head of the CIA. So they were out to get him. And Bobby Kennedy was going after the mafia. Mm-hmm. The mafia. It was like an Agatha Christie novel. They pissed off everybody who's good at like killing you. The mafia,
Is academia good at killing folks?
Why?
Because they're coming after me pretty hard.
Academia? You're talking about elite colleges?
Yeah, do they kill folks?
Well, I never have a good word for elite colleges, so tell me your story.
No. Everything that I've been doing, one of the scariest parts.
Are you talking about like Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yeah, I'm talking about the real people that's controlling. Because one of the things that we found strange, and Patrick Bet-David talked about it, put up a post.
He was here.
He put up a post and said, why is it? Because we had so much pushback about the science and all of that stuff. He's like, why has no one actually signed up to come and do this debate with him? Why haven't you reviewed the papers? Because I put out papers for solving the three-body problem, because they wouldn't take me seriously.
What's the three-body problem?
The three-body problem has been hanging around since Newton. They could always control what's happening with two bodies in orbit. They can predict how they're going to
Oh,
behave.
bodies in orbit.
So one
You
moment
meant
you add
our
a third body,
Okay.
it goes into chaos
Oh, you mean because of gravity?
because of their gravity.
Sure, any gravity. I mean,
They couldn't control the gravitational pull, but their stuff was off with it. And now, so for 300 years, no one was able to solve the three body problem. Then AI did some solutions to it, but all of their solutions were time dependent solutions. So they can run it for a number of cycles, but then after a given point, it would descend back into chaos.
do you actually know? I'm not saying this facetiously. How electricity works?
Yes.
Oh, really? Because that's funny.
Ask any question that you've ever had about anything in the
No,
universe.
I don't know. I don't want to know.
I mean, literally, I'm
just
saying
I
ask
don't know.
any question that you've ever wanted to know about the fundamentals of how the universe behaves,
Wow.
and I have the answer because we have the fractal. So, I mean, you can do it right now. Any question you would want, any question about anything with it. As
We're talking about pressure, the entire universe, and I've got one question. This would be a good movie. Well, let's see. I hate to be selfish, but how can I ensure, especially now that we have AI and now that I'm almost 70, how can we ensure that I don't die? That's really the question that is most honestly on my mind.
And it's the easiest thing to answer. We have 5 elements in our DNA that make up our DNA: hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, oxygen. All 5 of these elements sit up and line themselves. And if you look at the legs of the DNA, not across the...
Yeah, sure.
If you look at
I
the
know what you're talking about, the helix.
The helix is made up, this is where the phosphorus and the oxygen spits. I'm gonna hold up for a second. You will have one, you'll have one phosphorus waveform, and you have 4 oxygen atoms around it, wrapped around it.
Well, now
then
looks like Terrence Howard is angry.
No, I'm not angry. And then
they're going to steal that picture.
And then off of this oxygen, these legs will start to form. This is the DNA, how the DNA legs start to form up. And that's the ATCG. And that's where the carbon and the nitrogen, and it'll get over here, hit another oxygen that's around 4 of these. Now, when we're young, under this high pressure, we're tight and everything is really good and things work well. The resonance, we got to think that everything is moving with resonance. This will be over in 30 seconds. Everything is moving with resonance. So as the information is going over, but the older we get, the further we get from the center of our galaxy, we're in a more vacuous space. The wider the space, now there's more room. And so all of the elements that would naturally, the carbon and the nitrogen that would be not right next to each other, or the hydrogen, it's separated out. So other things have gotten in there. That's how we age. So all you have to do, take your prime resonant frequency, because there's a particular frequency that runs through your whole system, that runs across your fingerprint.
Okay, so
and you play that back to you under a compressed area underwater. Your whole body will tighten up. You increase the pressure condition. You don't have to die. That's why I'm like, all of this stuff, it's like, this isn't about flying.
How can I access this frequency with parts found around the home?
With parts found around, you can...
Well, I mean, so I don't need anything special.
You don't need
die?
nothing special. You just need to run an electrical current
but
through your system.
But I'm going to keep getting older.
No. Run an electrical current through your system. That's all you have to do. Run it through your entire system. No, they have those little things you hold, and it will tell you what your prime resonant frequency is.
Cut to Bill Maher electrocuted in own home.
If you're in the water, say you get a stone tub, and you're in the water. The water is incompressible, and you have that frequency of your own nature realigning you. It's literally like a molecular massage for each person, and you can tighten things and you can loosen things, because now we have the steps that you couldn't have before.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So
I'm saying you can live forever if you want to.
I do, and I'm going to have to call you back on this. I was, I shoot hoops every day here, and once in a while I go a little too hard, and I tweak my ankle, and for the first, I've done this before. Been told that to walk barefoot on the earth
Why?
is very beneficial.
Why?
I'm sure you can answer that better than I can. But it somehow, again, I'm just a layman here. You're connected to it. Makes sense on a very basic level to me.
You've got leather on your bottom of your shoes.
Yes.
So you're connected. All that's moving through you. I've got rubber on the bottom of mine. So now I'm disconnected. So I'm no longer grounded. So all this negative energy just builds up inside of my system.
And why are you
and
wearing?
It's waiting to discharge. The moment you touch the ground, you discharge.
So why are you wearing those shoes if they're bad?
Because I don't know if I got holes in my socks. And I'm on in front of everybody.
Well, I don't think.
But that's what you should do.
I don't think I'm getting a lot of earth here because we put cement here over the earth.
Doesn't matter. But it's still. This is still
you have to walk. What happened is I walked barefoot on the earth. Not a lot because I really find it gross. God knows what's in that ground, and I have to look out for the dog shit. And anyway, but I did it because this is what I've been told that and I do think it made my ankle heal faster. I really do.
Well, think about having.
But I don't think that's anything too outrageous.
No, it's not. It's just basic physics. If you have something that wants to discharge, because you're building up all this negative charge and going throughout life, going throughout with everything we're dealing with, and back to the frequency of 440 over 432. It said that Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's minister of propaganda, was the one that pushed 440 instead of 432 because it made people anxious. So to what you were saying earlier, everybody wants to fight and looking for a fight.
Pushed what?
Joseph Goebbels reached out to the opera houses in all of the other countries and said, back in 1938, 1939, when Hitler was doing all of his stuff, saying, hey, we've written a German opera and we would love to do it. And this is before the big stuff happened. We'd love for you guys.
War.
The war, yeah, before.
Yes, war started.
And Hitler, would be really honored if you would change your music to 440 so we could do this opera there. And they did that in all those countries, and they all wanted to avoid having them come in.
But what was the effect of moving it to 440?
432 hits you right at the heart. It's calming.
It's good?
It's calming. This is natural.
I see. So 440 makes you rabid?
Yes, 440 makes you rabid. And then they took it to 442. They keep taking it up, and people are and all of the music is programmed to that. So everybody is just like this, charged up. And so they want to discharge. So you take your shoes off, go to a tree. This is what I do when I'm flipping out. And I put my hands on the tree, barefoot in front of the tree, and I just hold it, close my eyes until I don't know the difference between the tree and me. And that discharging, that circulation helped heal your ankle. Because part of your prime resonant frequency is the Schumann resonance. And the Schumann resonance is the earth.
Honestly, I can't see myself getting to the point where I don't know it's the tree. I mean, you must be on
You don't know it's the what?
You said you don't know which one is
No, you do, because the tree doesn't know where its branches end. The tree is always trying to grow.
I thought you said you didn't know.
And then I don't know where I end, because after a while of holding something, you forget you're touching it. And you forget it's touching you. And
how long does this take? I mean, I
5 minutes.
5 minutes. I feel like I would.
Close your eyes.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'd always know it's the tree, and that would be the end of our relationship.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
But if the 440 is making you tense, you can fix that. A 40.
A 40. A 40. Code 45. It's 45.
You. By the way, you are like this generation's Billy D. Williams. I told you that once at a party. I said you should play his son in a movie. I was with Kid from Kid and Play. Yeah. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I'm like.
And I said, I don't know. We were high, and
we were high because this whole time I've been waiting to fucking meet you.
No, but we didn't.
And I'm like, damn, I met you, and I don't even.
And we both bum rushed you with this great idea that you should play Billy D. Williams' son. But it was at the time a great idea. And Billy D. Williams was here, and he's 80 and he's still fucking cool.
Yeah.
And you look like you could be his kid.
The biggest mistake I made in my career was Smokey Robinson offered me brought me out to come have dinner with him, and he wanted me to play his life. And I just had conversations with Lee Daniels about playing Marvin Gaye, and I was like being faithful to Lee Daniels because I had given my word as a man, I'm going to do this with you. So when Smokey, I had to tell them at the table, and it broke his heart. That was the biggest mistake, and Billy D would have been one of the other people that would have, man.
So you did which movie?
I didn't. Lee Daniels never did Marvin Gaye.
That's a shame because that is a much more
Smokey would
interesting
have been
stuff.
perfect
Well, Smokey's interesting, but
because
he's
he
not.
went through shit.
Yeah, but he's not dead.
No, he's not.
And Marvin Gaye is. And I'm sorry, but drama's drama. And there's a lot more drama in getting killed by your dad.
Yeah, but the problem with
That's a story. I'm sorry to be the studio head who says not, but no, that's much more interesting. And Marvin Gaye was like, you would have been perfect as Marvin Gaye. And that is a story that
well,
needs to
I
be
will
told.
let you know what happened with that. I was over at Quincy Jones' house. I'm not dropping names. I'm just giving credibility to what I'm about
No,
what I'm
never
saying.
drop names. De Niro
Yeah,
told me that.
yeah. So, but I'm asking Quincy. I'm hearing rumors that Marvin was gay, and Marvin was gay, and I'm like, was he gay? And Quincy's like, yes.
Oh,
He went around it with everything, and I was like, no, and I'm like, I could not.
I just feel like there's gay for real, and then there's a point where guys get so much pussy, they're just like, oh, fuck it.
Yeah, well, it would have been that, but they would have wanted to do that, and I wouldn't have been able to do that. It wouldn't.
Well, you mean you couldn't kiss a guy on screen in a
No,
movie?
no,
Not even, yeah.
no, because I don't fake it. I
Right.
literally, it has to.
I couldn't kiss a man either. That's true, and that
That would fuck me.
does not
I
make
would cut
me.
my lips off.
Yeah, no,
I
well,
would.
okay, well,
If I kiss some man, I would cut my lips
well,
off.
I would not do that, but it does not make me homophobic to not want to kiss a man. Just like lots of gay men are like pussy, yuck. I mean that's okay.
No,
We all have our own. No one
that's
wants to
fine.
tell you
Do
how
what
to.
you love to do, but don't do it at
Exactly.
me. Don't aim it at me. And I can't play that character
Right. No,
100%.
right,
I can't surrender myself
right.
to a place that I don't understand.
Yeah.
And so that's the end part of that story of what I had
Well,
to
I can
let go.
understand. I can understand it. I'm just not of it. I mean, I could certainly understand men attracted to men. I mean, homosexuality is in nature. Animals. There are many, many, many animals.
Yeah, the
What?
bonobo monkeys, they practice it.
Well, practice it. I
They
mean,
do. All of them.
well,
Their whole the whole colony, everything. The bonobos, the entire
well,
interaction is
it can't.
sexual.
It can't be all of it if they still make
No,
it.
but
But
they
they're
still
still
do
making.
that. But it's seen. It's seen in there. It's seen in those places. But for me, what my constitution of what matters as a man for me,
Yeah.
that's the part that I
Maybe
can't
the
go to.
bonobos are gay, but every once in a while, the bonobo thinks he should try, like Elton John when he married that girl in 1989. I mean, we all knew it wasn't going to work, but you got to give it a shot. Who knows?
I said that to Lee Daniels once we were on set shooting Empire, and I'm supposed to call all these names out. Call skank, call her ass, call her something, da da da. And then he said, try some pussy, try pussy. I said, why don't you try it sometime? I said that to
That's great.
the lady.
Yeah. Well, see, that show is why you shouldn't ever quit acting because, like, once you've had and you've had, you're an Oscar nominee, but there are people who've been Oscar nominees and, like who are, can you, I mean, the Oscars were only like last month. Ask me
Mhm.
now who was up for the awards. I couldn't tell you. So people forget that, but they don't forget like a show that had its moment as like the sort of it show, Empire was sort of that kind of show, which was great, because usually HBO gets that kind of show, White Lotus or something. But
I wish HBO had it. I wish HBO had had
I
it.
think you did pretty good where you
No,
were.
but if they had stayed true to that story,
Yeah, but don't argue with success. I mean, it was
we had 28 million viewers
yes.
in the second year.
Okay, HBO has like 28 million subscribers. So look, I'm true blue HBO. They're my life, and I love them. But some stuff is, I think, no, I think you were in the right place. You went for a broader thing, get the bigger payday in eyeballs and in money, and become the water cooler show. Once you've had that, I'm telling you, you will always be in demand in some capacity. And if you think you're canceled forever, there's this guy, I heard about this today, Mark Halpern. I remember I did a bit about him. I don't know if I mentioned him by name in one of my shows, like in 2018, one of my stand-up specials. He was part of the first wave of the Me Too thing. And his MO was around the office, he'd rub his dick up against you. You're over there getting coffee.
How did you feel about it?
Well, he didn't do it to me. If he did it to me, I would have felt poorly about it. Very poorly, I would have felt. But he didn't do it to me. But he did it to women around the office who were just trying to find the sweet and low. And then there's Mark Halpern's dick rubbing against your skirt. It's as grody as it can get. And yet, somebody told me today, on his podcast or whatever, I'm like, this dude's back? Back!
Because everybody's 98.7% simian. We are all animal, and so we're going to forgive the animal in us.
Well, that goes triple for a guy who's rubbing his dick against you at the coffee station. It goes, and 7 years later, so like...
She's married and got 4 kids.
Well... Who?
The girl that he was rubbing up against.
I'm just saying, like, you're canceled till you're not, and like, if they like you, and like this guy. Look, I'm not trying to like make this all about how terrible Mark Halpern is. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I had met him before that. He was on the show, but I do find what he did just as bad as it gets.
Well, let me tell you why it's hard. Why it's hard for men.
But
and not give an excuse for that.
But if he can make it back with no charisma, and not like nobody like, oh boy, I can't wait to like imagine myself with it. You can make it back a lot easier.
I know, but I'm about a revolution, about changing the world now with.
Well, I hope you'll just at least tell me that you haven't told your agent not to like at least pass on to you if he sees something that's like really great for you, and then you want to like go in and like, I can't believe they wouldn't take a meeting with you.
Well, say, no, right now.
You know what? I read this part and I think I could fucking kill it, and I'm the right guy for it. Because there are parts like that are there. I'm not saying it would happen it happens not often. There's not enough good material. We all know that. But when it does, I hope you jump at it.
But picture
and try to get it.
What if you found the greatest secret that everybody's been looking for that changes everything? How do you go on a set and be able to lend your entire being to a character when your entire being is like, wait a minute, I don't have to stay in this body no more.
Isn't it fun?
Aren't you tired of being in this body?
No.
Body? Wouldn't you love to maintain your
my body's tired of me.
No.
That's the problem. I'm not tired of my body. I'm trying to be friends with it.
I would love to see me outside of my skin in that light. I would love to see me in other dimensions. I would love to explore these other places that you can go to that the flesh doesn't allow you to go to. So that's what I want to do.
But you were born a movie star. I'm sorry, Precious, that this is complicating your life. But that's what you are what you are. I don't know what about the science of it or the DNA or what happened, but some of us are You were just created to be something. You were meant to be that. I'm sorry, I'm meant to be this. I'm meant to be what I am. And I think you do yourself a disservice when you fight against that current because you're never going to beat back the boats there. It's just too strong. You know, I always say water rolls downhill.
It does.
Like it's like, and usually when I say it, what it means is that, you know, I never got married because water rolls downhill. I know where it's going to roll with me. And it's not going to roll toward there. And maybe at some point I'll be able to control that, but it does. And I feel like I'm happier when I um, live a moral life, but don't pretend I'm not who I am. And you're an actor, and it's fun. And you can't tell me that when you nail the close up, it doesn't give you a kind of adrenaline rush. I mean, I was an actor for 10 years. I wasn't even like really ever wound up that or was aiming to be that. I always kind of more wanted to be what I became, but that's what I did in the 1980s. And I got a rush from nailing the close up. It's just like it's a drug. It was as good as stand up.
Well, it's a spell you're casting. And when you know that everyone has been captured in that aroma and that whatever is happening, it's an it's a medium, but you have to know that it's not you. You've just opened up and some other entity has entered you.
No, it's
That's the
bigger. It's bigger than you,
there's another
or
greater
it can be.
entity. And some of those entities, once they get a hold of you, they don't want to let go of you. And that's where the problem comes in.
But what about Richard Dreyfus and you in that little battle?
That's what I'm saying. He told me
Don't you?
you go to the very end. So I went to the very end and let go of all. I questioned everything, and everything was up for grabs because of trying to always win the frame. To the point where when my mother was dying of colon cancer, and I loved my mother with everything I am, I'm sitting there looking at her, and the actor in me kicked on and said, "This is what it looks like when you're dying." And was taking a fucking note. The actor was taking a note while I'm there and I'm wondering, who am I? And my mother died like 3 weeks later. And she was the only reason I became an actor.
But does that diminish how you really feel about your mother? No.
No, it doesn't. But I'm like, here I'm trading sacred
You know,
things for people. The producers, they don't care. They don't know what we're sacrificing when we're telling our stories. They don't know what we're reliving and trying
yeah,
to
yeah.
put a little seasoning in it and serve this up with a smile, you know, but it's literally my liver and my heart that I'm giving you right now. And when they mistreat it and treat you like an insignificant worm, my very first thing with Bill Cosby, um, no, not in a bad way. It was just me standing up. Uh, I had gone to an audition. Barry Moss was right across the street. He was the casting director.
Barry Moss.
Barry Moss in New York, right on 43rd Street between like 8th and 7th Street on the uptown side. My younger brother had gone in there to audition, and I just went to accompany him. Then Tony ended up going back to Cleveland, and I'm like, my mother always wanted my little brother to become an actor. And was trying to get pictures. So I'm thinking, if I become an actor, I'm going to get my mother's affection. I'm going to get my mother's affection.
Mm.
So I go and do the Barry Moss. I go up there when Tony's not able to go to the audition. I get the part. I'm on the set. I have a great shoot. I think it's a great shoot. I'm at Pratt Institute, you know, going to school in Brooklyn for chemical engineer, no, electrical engineering at the time. And I tell all the kids in school, hey, I'm on Cosby Show, I'm on the Cosby Show. And the show comes out, and I have people watching it in the auditorium. I've pulled that. Show comes out, they don't show me on the show. And I'm so embarrassed. So at 6 o'clock in the morning, that evening, I called my grandmother, my great grandmother, And I asked her, what should I do? I said, I feel like I need to go and talk to somebody about this, about nobody told me I was cut out of this thing and I'm embarrassed. So I go up to Kaufman Astoria Studios in where they were shooting in New York. And I'm waiting, and I made friends with all the security guards before, so they let me in at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm waiting by Bill Cosby's door. They think I'm gonna do another episode. And Bill comes in. I'm like, hey, Bill, can I talk to you for a second? Now, this is my very first job that I've ever had. I'm 16 years old. And Bill says, come on in. And he pours himself some coffee. He was like, what's going on? I said, I watched the show last night. He said, what'd you think? I said, it was good. But there's only one problem. Y'all cut me out. And he was like, yeah. I was like, but y'all cut me out. And he was like, well, that happens. I was like, yeah, but nobody told me. He's like, didn't your agent tell you? I was like, I don't have an agent. He was like, well, you need to get you an agent. Plain straight. I said, well, you told me that you liked us on the set and that maybe you would bring us back together. This is my 16-year-old ass. He says, and it's only been 3 weeks. He was like, well, if we like you, maybe we will bring you back. I said, well, did I do something wrong by coming and asking about this? He was like, no. He's like, but you don't, he said, the next time you have something on, he said, you don't tell somebody you're on it. You let people call you and tell you they saw you on the show. I said, but dude, I went and told everybody at my school because you're not the number one show anymore.
Yeah.
Roseanne is the number
You know
one
what?
show. And this is how I fucked myself with Bill Cosby
I'm with
by being that loud.
right.
And I walked out and said, maybe this isn't the business for
That's
me.
why I'm not that upset about being this age, because you're just so stupid when you're young.
You do stupid shit.
You do stupid shit. I've done stupid shit too. I mean, I'm with the cause on this one. It just happens, and you just got to eat shit when you're young and on the bottom. I remember doing a TV movie in 1988 called Out of Time, a direct ripoff of The Terminator, but we went right ahead. 2-hour, what they called movie of the week. I was very excited. I was one of the co-stars, and I had a 8 a.m. call one day and stayed in my trailer until 3:30 and showed up on the set at 3:30 in the afternoon, which happens. Sometimes you never get called. It does.
Yeah.
Directors want all their colors on the palette. Yes. So I showed up, and not in a mean way, but just comic. I thought, and I showed up at 3:30 and said, "Okay, here I am, ready for my 8 a.m. call." At 3:30 in the afternoon, and the director was like, "Don't ever do that." He was like, "You're 28. You got a part in a major movie of the week on a major network. If I want you here every day at 8 a.m., even if you're not on the call sheet, I'll do it." I mean, he didn't say all that, but I got it. Dumb. Yeah. Just like when you're before you get there, don't act like you got there. Okay, there's a song for you.
Don't act like you got there. And I thought I was doing the right thing by just standing up for myself, but I wasn't patient and didn't learn the system. And that's what so many young, talented people, they jump out there, they're full of it. That's the bigger problem too. That stress is 3 or 4 of the things we've been talking about. How much in 1970, healthy male, how much sperm do you think he produces per heartbeat?
Per heart? I didn't know it was calculated that way. What do you mean per heartbeat?
Per heartbeat, and I'm thinking
every heartbeat you produce some sperm?
Yeah, every heartbeat. How much do you think a healthy male from 1970, 1969 would produce?
Oh, 70. Oh, why didn't you say so? 70. Okay. Led Zeppelin was on the charts. I'm going to go with 100 per beat.
1,500 sperm per heartbeat.
And what is
for
it
a healthy male?
And what is
back then? That meant there was 250,000 to 500 million sperm in a healthy ejaculation. Now the healthy ejaculation is 10 to 15 million sperm.
More?
No.
Less.
That's all we have left. 10 to 15 million sperm because of the phthalates, because of the BPAs, all the plastics, all of the things that's going into our system. And that's for all the males on the planet, not just us. So it's estimated by 2045 there will not be any males left on the planet able to produce sperm.
Have you told this to Elon Musk and Nick Cannon?
No,
Because
they're doing the right thing. Procreate.
really,
Procreate if you have to, because most species when they're facing extinction, that's one of the first things they do. There's a genetic kick that's like, okay, we need to diversify and procreate. Something has to survive this. So, hey, but nowadays we don't have that much
how
sperm.
old are your kids?
I have a 31-year-old daughter, Aubrey, a 30-year-old, 29-year-old son, Hunter, and a 28-year-old daughter, Heavenly. And I've got a 9 and 8-year-old, Kieran and Hero.
So the ones who are around 30, obviously they're full-on adults. What do you guys what do you argue about? Where are they like, Dad? That's old thinking, Dad.
They don't do that.
They don't.
They don't do
So you
that.
see eye to eye and everything.
Because I was too honest with them. Like my daughter got mad at me because when she was 14, I called her and I was like, hey, I feel like killing myself because I was going through all that stuff with getting kicked out of Hollywood and all of that. I put too much on her. So I shared everything with them. I was never, outside of it. So it's always, and so they didn't believe anything about the science for the first few years until now, all of the patents, now all of the stuff flying, and now all of the changes and the what AI is doing with it. So now they're like they see me as the greatest hero right now because it's
Wow.
like because at one point my daughters was like, I don't respect you as a man.
As
When
a
my wife,
man.
because my ex-wife said I had beat her up
Right.
and all of that. And that was the worst part of trying to defend myself at a time when you couldn't defend yourself. And that's when I dove into the science. But they see me right
So
now,
you think
such
she
a
just
light.
was mad at you, so she said you beat her, but you
No,
didn't?
no, no. She was doing that because she knew that I had a fight with my first wife, but she knew that, and within a year of us being married, not one trip to the hospital, not one call to the police, not one report from neighbors about us fighting, not any of that. And she goes and says, that I beat her up, and it's like anybody that knows me. Yeah, I fight. I fight men. I'm a fighter. I do that if I
Nobody
have to.
knows what a guy
But
is
that
like.
other stuff was
Yeah,
like,
but nobody knows what a guy is like when he's with a woman. I've seen it too many times. Like people who I mean, I won't go into specifics, but there's somebody who a lot of us in the comedy world worked with, and we didn't know some of the very unsavory things he was doing. I'm just saying,
yeah,
but no one knows you unless they know you in that way. People are very different with women, but unless there's, I always say, if you're not in the room,
then you're not in
you
the
you
room.
just don't pretend you know what happened. You just like one of the sides, and so you're just pretending that you know because you want to back that, but you don't know. But it doesn't sound like. I mean, I just don't think it's insurmountable as far as America has a way of like overreacting and then going, oh, yeah, maybe we did kind of overreact to that one. You know what I mean?
I don't mind the overreaction because if that hadn't happened, I would have gone on and kept making the money, and I wouldn't have cared about that little voice in the back of my head. It was that little voice that was
What's the
like,
voice saying?
the little voice was like, remember what you came here for. Remember the question that you first wanted to know. How does everything work? When I started going back into that, I made all the discoveries. Then I had something to put the money into. That's where the patents come from. That's where the innovation comes from, to where this is what,
So you say patents. Do you
yes.
think you have a chance to like become extremely rich from what you're working on?
I'm going to show you something.
I mean, it's a fair question.
I don't think you ever saw what I'm working on because you're about to
Is it
watch.
the thing that's going to make me live forever?
When this is over, I'm going to show you something.
Is your day like consumed with this? Like, do you work with a team?
Yeah, we have a full team, international team, from people in Canada, people in Chile, people in Germany. Because when I first did my stuff with the linchpin, when we first decided what is the linchpin?
What is the linchpin?
Well,
Uh oh.
What is
Oh, this is
what?
how it started at the Diddy parties. Yeah, the guy reaches into a bag, and the next thing you know, you've got somebody's dick up your butt. Yeah. Okay.
Hold on. For some Pentagon.
Wait, can you believe some of the people who were at those parties?
Yeah.
Justin Bieber.
Yeah, but he shouldn't have been there at 14, and that's the thing. You know, for somebody to like, I stand big on maintaining somebody's man card. You know, but if it's taken from you, that don't take away your man card. If some child is raped, it doesn't take away your
What
man
is
card.
man card
Your
meaning?
man card is
Sure.
your integrity, your dignity.
Oh,
That
it's
ma-
not
that
your butt.
it's your butt.
Oh,
It's your butt.
wait. Is it your integrity or is it your
That
butt?
is your integrity. That's because that goes to your
Well,
intestines,
I
and that's
mean,
your dignity, because
okay.
that's where your dookie
Well,
out of.
look, to be clear, my man card has never expired. Okay, so
Okay,
my man
good,
card is
good.
intact.
You don't have to. You
But
don't
I
have to
still, I
clarify that.
don't think my butt has anything to do with my man card. But
No.
okay, all right. So
This is what happens when. Just hold it anyway. This is 6 pentagons coming together. Can you imagine that in the last 6,000 years of our recorded history, no one has ever put 6 pentagons together that way?
why? What is it? Why is it good? What does it do?
Well, this became the fractal. This is the linchpin. It's where 4 bubbles meet. It's where each of the natural forces creates the form of electricity with what you said.
And then what practical end does this give us? Like, what does this
Well,
get? Where does
before
this
we
get us?
thought it was a cube. Now we understand that we have 12 opposing vortices, harmonic vortices that's interacting. So now we're able to predict where planets are going to be, where we can predict all distribution of matter.
We definitely could predict that
No,
before.
but we couldn't.
We could certainly predict where planets were going to be.
But we can predict where all of the stars, where everything is going to align. Each one of these vortices, it picks up the galactic plane, the celestial. And I've got an app where everything that I'm saying to you, I swear, is on 100% truth. We have papers on it, and we have the actual apps for it.
I got it great. You asked me before, like, what question could I ask about the universe? I just thought of a great one. Last week, they discovered a planet that's 700 trillion miles away, which is like, I don't know,
4 light years.
No, I think way more than 4.
There was, okay, I saw a different one then.
Well, it's 700 trillion. I don't know how many light years that is, but
I saw when they was talking about
it was like 120. I don't know, whatever it is. It's a ridiculous number that we could never travel to with what we know now. Okay, so the story was that this could be or they said it was likely to be a planet that had life because
of its proximity to its star.
No, because they detected in its atmosphere
methane,
5 different chemicals that are only present when life basically is breathing. Okay, I was very impressed that they could detect this from 700 trillion miles away. So can you explain to me how they could detect what chemicals are in the atmosphere of something 700 trillion miles away? Because I don't know.
You ever heard of a spectrometer?
Have I heard of one? I've got one in my car.
No, a spectrometer, it basically, we as humans see only 0.005% of the total light spectrum. That's less than 1/2 of 1% of what is light. A spectrometer is able to see all of the other waveforms that we're not able to pick up.
And then
so there's a chemical that every chemical has a prime resonant frequency by which it bonds or breaks its bonds. That frequency, you can have the Webb telescope sending a laser that's picking up, and that consistency, it's able to attach that to the periodic table. It says it has this here, this here, this here.
Very good. I'm just saying I could not have done it with things I've learned on YouTube. And somebody did it, and I think they should be applauded. I don't think they're getting enough love for being able to detect what chemicals were in the atmosphere of something 700 trillion miles away. I feel that guy should get laid more.
Well, he will.
You know what?
With your plug, there you go.
Nope.
This right
It's still
here,
going to be you.
picture this as one proton.
Okay.
Guess what happens when they begin to bond?
Oh, it's like Legos.
Oh, Legos wish.
Legos wish. That should be your
This
next.
is the fractal. So
Okay.
now this is what they are seeing.
Who's seeing?
When they look at particle beams, they're only able to see to this point.
Oh, oh, all right.
And you see that it still fractals out or scales out with the same four vortices that it had. And four of those will bond and make larger bonds. And it's all predictable. So the Heisenberg uncertainty principle is gone now.
I still don't see
The
how it affects my erection. I'm sorry.
Well, that's the
Okay.
same with nitric oxide. That's just
Um,
the
oh
endothelial
shit.
cells. You need to
I
feed
broke.
your.
I
You need
broke
to.
the universe.
you broke
Oh, shit.
you broke
Jesus,
hydrogen. You just crushed
I feel.
hydrogen. You're a
Da, da,
villain.
da, da, da.
But I was able
I
to
broke.
demonstrate,
All right. Well,
and these things fly.
fly like a drone.
They fly. No, not like a flight vehicle, not like a drone. Patents been granted worldwide, and I'm like, this should have never made it through.
Shouldn't have.
It should have never made it through. Somebody should have snatched this and said, hey, it's that important of a
Right.
thing. And they've allowed it to go through. It allows for over unity.
Well,
And they gave me the
they allowed
patent on it.
AI. I mean, you know, it's AI.
Nobody's watching the shop. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
The
certainly
people
nobody's
used to be watching and
right.
saying, hey, we need to
No,
keep this in our
no,
government.
definitely nobody's watching the shop
That's
now.
what I meant on Patrick
But
Bet-David's show about, hey, no,
but
hey,
even before Trump, AI, nobody was stopping AI, and probably nobody will. They're just going to have a race to the bottom, and when I mean the bottom, I mean like where the money is. And fuck it if it's going to destroy major parts of humanity. They just don't care. When it was first proposed, AI, they all agreed. They kind of had a little truce. Well, this is just going to be a nonprofit. You know, that didn't last. You know, you're right. It's always the money. The money. The money. Yeah.
and the money is all fake. It's been fake since 71.
Well,
It doesn't matter anymore.
yeah, but if it can buy things that aren't fake, then it's not fake.
It's
I
just,
mean,
it buys influence, but it has,
well, it
and
also
once,
buys apartments. It buys, you know, the oil that Puffy used. It's you know, money is freedom. But you know, when I was
so it,
poor, I didn't have the freedom to never take a job. That's a great freedom. I have that freedom now. I have the freedom to like eat what I wanted to eat because I was too poor. I had to eat at Blumpy's across the street. You know, I mean,
that's
so
why I sued those companies.
for money.
Because I needed the money you go make $2-3 billion off of me and give me, I've got 28 million viewers. The people on Big Bang Theory
But that's
has,
your agent's job.
yes, my agent's job, but they had packaged the deal. So they were incentivized to keep my pay low. And so they're telling me that no, it's because you and Taraji are favored nations and we couldn't come to a deal with her that we got to keep you at $325,000 an episode when you got 28 million viewers. And they did that for 6 years. And they were the ones that were looking after the people on the Big Bang Theory.
Should have
So
left that agency.
yeah, well, you do. And it's like, now I got to sue you. That was
Now
wrong. I got to check you on that.
the business has changed for the people watching this who are not in the show business. There was a time when agents were not involved in packaging and producing and production. And once that line got crossed, it did become a little weird,
Fiduciary responsibility was neglected.
you know.
And that's become pandemic in our business. No one keeps their word. Nobody's a man anymore.
Do you really think they ever were? You think Louis B.
Yeah.
Mayer kept his word or any of these motherfuckers back then? You think they kept their word? Yeah, they kept their word that Marilyn will blow me after lunch. You know, I don't think anybody ever. What?
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I just
They've
don't.
been selling. They've been selling Neverland to everybody.
Well,
So it's
they're no different than any other business. We just sell something different. We sell dreams and entertainment and acting, and other people sell widgets, and other people sell fucking mufflers. And everybody, that's the beauty and the horror of capitalism is that it depends on human nature being what it is, which is greedy and selfish. And if you ever try to change that equation, which is what communism was, you will fail because human nature is greedy and selfish. And look at you. You got like $1 million parka on. You don't want to be poor.
the selfish. No, I do not.
Yeah.
The selfish gene. That's why I sued everybody. I want my money.
Right.
Shit.
Yeah.
That's the theme. I want my money.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Show me the fucking money, man.
There's your boy Cuba again.
No, fuck.
Yeah.
So we
All
go
right.
away, but I've got other shit to do.
All right.
But I love this, man.
Well, I got other shit to do too now. I could talk to you all night. I really could. I love getting a little wasted with you.
This
You
is
are
to-
everything I thought you would
This
be.
is to us, man.
Please don't say this is the last time.
No.
Okay, bro.
Look up my shit.
Oh, I will.
Look up my shit. Go to terrencelynchfans.com.
All right. Well, I promise you, I will do a deep dive.
I promise you everlasting life if you do.
Okay. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you, man, for coming here and doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for
It was a
smoking
joy.
with me. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
That was beautiful.
That was kind of beautiful. A lot of people. Here, take one to go.